Hello. Nice, healthy pause at the beginning.
The millennial pause. There we go.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What? What?
Am I am I good? Somehow?
Um, no, I figured I was sitting in the dark and was like,
Oh,
I'll
you like
unsit in the dark.
yeah,
That's
I
right.
have yet to set up my lights. I've got a new desk and everything's a mess, and I'm
Oh
just
no,
living
what's
that.
happening?
Oh,
Oh,
I just need
it's
to
too
get
bright. Oh no.
now you're washing out.
Ah. Okay. Hello.
Is there a solar flare hitting your
Yeah, that's right.
particular area of the world? Have you seen so some of I enjoy watching pranks on YouTube. It's
Mhm.
kinda like my guilty pleasure, and so one of them was that they have people coming in for an interview.
Uh-huh.
And then they have this what appears to be, like a window to the outside, and then
Mhm.
a TV showing the news in this conference room. And so what they do is they display a meteor coming in
Oh no.
to the city, like in the
Oh
far scape,
no.
and then the news channel like switching over to it and covering it, and people like on the ground supposedly, and then the meteor hits and there's this big shock wave coming towards the conference room as they're in it. So I don't know. That's funny to me. But
It sounds terrifying. I feel for the poor people.
mhm. Yep. Yep. Oh,
Okay, but maybe a little funny.
I find it a little funny. I have a strange sense of humor, so that might be why I find it funny.
I guess I do enjoy the Eric Andre show, which is kind of the same. I guess that people kind of sign up to like be tortured. Maybe that's like different. I don't know.
Yeah, they're not completely unsuspecting.
Yeah, exactly.
I might change it a little bit. What are
Yes.
some of the other ones? The one that I find the most comical, mainly because it anchors to my childhood. So my great grandmother, she used
Mhm.
to make porcelain dolls. Um,
Okay.
and so she had this, and the biggest room of her little house was back in the corner, like in the back of her house, and no one went in there because it was just dedicated to all the dolls that I mean, hundreds of dolls.
Mhm.
And so it was always a test to my
Mhm.
brothers and I who would go back because it was always dark, and so like dolls in the dark, just creepy.
No,
Uh,
not good.
it's just not good. So we would dare each other to go back there, and
Oh
whoever
god.
could last the longest back there, you know, won the bet. So the prank on YouTube is it's called like the possessed doll prank, and so they put a piano
Uh-huh.
wire, some kind of hidden wire, on a doll, and so someone's just kind of sitting on a couch, and then the doll will like raise a little bit. But my favorite one is this like wooden elf doll that's sitting on a fridge,
Mhm.
and this guy's just sitting in the kitchen, looks like a kitchen computer table, and he's just working away, and then they have the little wooden doll tap on the fridge with its foot, and it's got like a little cowboy boot, and
No,
it's
I don't like
you know
that.
yeah. But anyway, then it's like it's lifted up in the air, and the guy just bolts out of the room. But enough story time for me. That's the strange things that I do when I'm bored and watch YouTube.
Yeah, that's what you do when you're offline. You're just sitting there in a room full of dolls until the next stream, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then I'm plotting how I can scare people.
Yes. Unrelatedly, you've got children, like scaring people. Who could that be?
Oh yeah. Well, they actually do a fairly good job at
Oh,
scaring me.
they.
It's become kind of a game. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. I think I
Like,
might have shared this one before, but I was just in here working one morning, like pretty
uh-huh.
early, 5:30, 6 o'clock. My lights are off and I've got my headphones on. I'm listening to some music. And then all of a sudden, my son, who's 9, his face just shows up right here. Like he snuck in my office, in the dark, and then just popped up right here to scare me. So,
Not okay.
yeah. And my
Not
daughter
okay.
is like, she's a ninja. She's almost 6. She'll be 6 in 2 weeks, but she
Mhm.
is like crazy quiet. And so she's scared me quite a few times, and not even trying, just like appearing to the side of me.
Oh, that's
But
so funny.
it keeps life interesting. It does.
I hate horror movies. I
I
hate
can't
being
watch horror
scared.
movies. I think the scare pranks are as far as I go. I can't do. I watch. There's one. I think it was called The Darkness. It still haunts me. Like it's the one where the creature or whatever it is can appear in dark. So the guy sleeps in
Oh
like a
no.
lit room the whole
Not
time.
okay. Not
And I
okay.
watched that when I was like 12 or 13, and I think of it now. I'm like, I gotta get to light. Turn on the light.
I watched the Haunting in Connecticut when I was like 15, 17, something like that. And like I was like looking at walls, just like not trusting any wall in any place for like a month. It was not okay.
Yeah. My mind's too impressionable, I think, for
Same.
such for such things. All right, all right. Well, enough story time, I suppose.
Yep.
Let's get back to the task at hand. And
Yes.
first, let's share the window. So we left off on Tuesday. I had
Hmm.
built a cluster. So we have this
Hmm.
new Rust WASI Hello cluster. And to
Hmm.
kind of step one step back from there, what we're trying to do is we have this component that you and Aaron have worked on
Hmm.
in here, and it is the Rust WASI Hello component. And we're working to deploy it to AKS, but WASM Cloud on AKS. So it's a Kubernetes type deployment. We're just using Azure to host the Kubernetes cluster. Um,
Yes.
and then we'll build from there. So we can add, like if we wanted to add some kind of other services, like a key value store, or if we wanted to add secrets, we can do that later on, but we're at least getting the app deployed. And so what
Yes.
I'm working on doing is documenting the code, like the AZ CLI commands that I'm using to build it. And then also there's quite a few configuration commands. And the aim is to try to fit that all into one or two Tofu or Terraform configurations. We could probably even use AZD. That might be a good option.
What's AZD?
So it's the was it the Azure Development AZD? I always know the acronyms, not the names. AZD CLI.
Oh, that is a CLI. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
Wait.
Azure Developer CLI. So it's different from the Azure CLI.
Okay. What's the difference? Yeah.
So the main difference is this lets you kind of bundle your deployment into some artifacts. So you can actually use Terraform files with this or Bicep, and then it handles the full deployment, and it acts like the AZ CLI, but it's more for the deployment of all the resources versus ad hoc commands. So it's mainly for spinning up development environments and not
Mhm.
necessarily running individual commands. So I haven't used it too much. I've only used it with a couple projects that already had the deployment stuff kind of ironed out.
So it kind of sounds like it's more like GitHub workspaces, but what if you don't necessarily just want a workspace, but like
Oh yeah, that's a
an
good analogy.
instance?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
like the full infrastructure deployment, it's in there. So the aim is you can do AZD up or whatever or down, and then it'll spin up all your stuff, and I think it'll even deploy your code. Um,
Mhm.
so it's kind of a combination of a workflow and infrastructure deployment.
Have you seen those badges on
Oh yeah,
GitHub projects
yeah.
that say like click this to like deploy?
Mhm.
Do you know how those work?
It's usually hooked into some kind of Terraform or Bicep. So like this deploy to Azure right
Yeah.
here, that's most likely Bicep. But then most, I don't know how the particular badges because they depend. The ones that I did, I used
Mhm.
Ansible, but then set them up as a GitHub workflow. So I was using just Ansible playbooks, but they were wired into a workflow, so I could get all the variables passed in. So
But you can make a badge out of like anything you want,
yeah,
basically.
pretty much. Yeah, it just has to trigger the workflow and get the proper parameters passed in. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
I I'd love to have like, a badge like that on like the little infra thing we make or different badges on different like things. Because we have it on the Rust sample app where it's like, hey, you want to try this out? Like, here you go, spin it up. Oh, you want the artifact? Here it is. It's very like pre-produced. Like, click a thing to like, use it as a template as well. If like this is the other side of that. I don't know. Seems kind of cool.
Yeah, it's handy. It's difficult to maintain it working,
I know.
but it's doable. Let's see here. So I think the next thing that I need to do, I've got the cluster, but I'm not yet connected to it.
Okay.
So in Azure, this is typically what I do. It pre-fills these out for me. So let's just make sure that I'm logged in. Easy login. Get my right subscription. There we go. My massive list of tenants. I think it's 34. Okay, so I'm logged into Azure, and now we'll get to the credentials. So this command, basically, you just need the resource group, the name of the cluster,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to override. If there's an existing entry with this name, it will override it. That's the last flag. So now I can get nodes. RK get nodes. Yeah. So get context, config context. Still getting used to. Config contexts, plural. Yep. So now I'm in the Rust hello, Rust WASI hello cluster. And these are basically the commands that we've run. Create a resource group, create a cluster, connect to the cluster.
Yes.
Pretty straightforward. Now we've got to learn kind of an extract out from the WASM Cloud docs, the configuration that we need for the clusters. There's quite a few different things that we needed, like the NATs, and different things. So we'll just put these in here, and then we'll run them.
Yes.
And then Terraform, I don't know about Tofu. I would imagine it's quite similar, but there are ways that we can run home charts inside the Kubernetes config, so that way it can be, we'll just run Terraform and all this stuff will be how we want it to be.
Okay.
We don't need to copy that in because that's just validating. That's just for us. Looks like it's still working on the deployment.
Deploying infrastructure is so soothing. Like I'm like, pods are getting ready. We're doing work. I get
such a different feeling. My impatience gets me a lot with it.
That's funny.
Can put on some tea and do some pour over and
but like chamomile tea, like sleepy time tea. I feel like, looking at this, it's like, this is nice. But maybe that's just me today. Oh, there we go.
All right, next one. Just need to install WADM. How would we say that? Okay, that's installed. It's rolled out, and then there's the operator. So I'm going to put some notes in here. Deploy NATs. Deploy WADM. And then deploy the operator. So all of these configurations for Kubernetes, these all need to be in place for us to be able to write a Kubernetes manifest that allows us to deploy. I believe it's a WASM application to the cluster. So these operators and all these other things need to be configured on the cluster before that manifest is valid, and we can deploy it. So that's why we need to do all this after the fact configuration. Because if they were using built-in resources and operators, we wouldn't need to do any of this. Like if you're using a container deployment, all that's there.
I see.
This is what enables the WebAssembly to run on the cluster.
I see. So that makes sense.
We'll run the operator or install it. Deploy, proper term. And this just checks the status, and that's almost instantaneous to my knowledge. Yep.
Ooh, nice.
And WASM Cloud hosts. Now, I don't know what this is. Let's take a look at it. It's the operator. I'm just curious what this is. Host config. Okay. Oh, so we're talking about the lattice.
What's a lattice? Like a network
That
thing?
was it was a network thing that they were talking about in the Wasm Cloud docs. I think it's how it does the networking between Kubernetes and the components.
Is that based on NATs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. If I remember the docs properly, I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
And NAT says network attached TypeScript?
Potentially. I always think of network address translation, but that's a different NATs.
Oh, right.
That's because I think I still have my CCNA expired, but I still have my Network Plus cert.
CCNA, does the NA stand for North America?
No, it's a Cisco certified network administrator. So it's the middle tier Cisco certification. You know, like
I see.
Cisco as in all the routers and switches and stuff. That company.
I see.
NATs on AKS.
Interesting.
Why doesn't it define NATs? What's NATs? Tell me the name.
Right.
I don't know. It means
Assume
something.
they know, or they expect you to know.
They're assuming you already know.
What is NAT? Well, NAT is like a network layer, like a message bus, right?
What?
So Mouvlon's asking in chat,
Sure.
so is this WASM running in a WASM runtime running in a container? No, I don't believe so. I believe WASM Cloud like natively hosts WebAssembly binaries. It natively runs them and installs a operator inside of your Kubernetes cluster. So it's a new type of workload. So I don't think it runs inside of a container.
Yeah, we'll see that when we get to deploying the workload because the kind is application. So yeah, it uses the operator to determine what the runtime is, and it'd be interesting. This would be a really good detailed question for Bailey, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my understanding, and hopefully she can correct me if she watches this if I'm wrong, but the operator will then take care of handling the runtime and then spinning that particular runtime up. I don't know if they're using WASM time for that or how they're providing. They're probably providing an instance of WASM time for the cluster to be able to host those on, and that's what that WASM Cloud hosts is most likely for. That way, it's not running as a container and then natively on the Kubernetes host, because Kubernetes knows how to run a container with was it a container D?
It used to be, at least for a while. I don't know if it still is, but
I believe it is. So it's not using that. It's going to be using this WASM Cloud to provide a WASM time runtime configuration for this new kind of application now, or new kind of deployment, which would be application on the cluster. And the operator that we just deployed is what makes it happen.
Yes.
So again, Bailey, if you watch this and I am wrong, let me know.
or literally anyone else from WASM Cloud.
Yeah, literally anybody else. Bailey's the only one that I know. Yes. By name, anyway.
Yes.
Or correction, know of. I don't think we've formally met, but maybe sometime in the future. Let's see here. Where were we? The last thing we ran was the apply operator. Yes. Okay. Which was this? So now we can describe it. Here's where we get all the details. And it has all these. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Oh, Mouvlon saying they've switched Kubernetes has switched runtimes to CRI-O.
Oh, okay. But it can run many container shaped things.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know that they're working the Run WASI project. They're working on getting WebAssembly running inside an existing runtime for the cluster. I thought it was container D, but I might be wrong. If Kubernetes just switched their runtime, but I know that there's the Run WASI project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, container D, Run WASI. They're working on getting it built into container D. So here, this would be an interesting read.
Oh, interesting.
So, and there's a couple people from Microsoft that are working on that. I won't attempt to pronounce his last name because I will butcher it. but he's been working on that. And I think there's a Slack channel and a bunch of other stuff if you're like interested in asking questions and stuff like that. All found on that page. But all right, so we described this. Go ahead and clear the screen.
Yes.
Making sure I'm not missing anything copied into here. All these commands are just checking that it ran properly, so I don't need to add those to configs, describe, check the logs.
Are we showing run those?
Not when we're configuring it. Right now, it's having you run them just to see that it's working, but we wouldn't need to run them in our Terraform config. So that's why I'm not copying them here to the setup sh.
I thought maybe, and this is not prescriptive. It's just an assumption that I had. But I was like, oh, maybe they run it for debugging purposes in case something fails. You can see the status of it like in between. But I guess that's not necessary.
Yeah, because the command would return a failure, like in the resource. So as you're deploying it, this is for human interaction, I suppose.
That makes sense.
Okay, and then we can deploy those. Supposedly now we're at the point where we can deploy the workload. Okay. So, config map. At this point, we'll have to switch over. So I think the cluster is ready for a deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And it would look something like this, but we might want to... I think there was a quick start that we used initially, and then we could modify it for our current one. So it's Rust. Build the application. The whoosh command. And I have it still. Good deal. Okay, Rust dependencies. And this is more your land, Yosh.
Yes.
So we already have the component. We don't need to do that.
We don't.
We probably need to do this.
I don't think we do either.
Oh, okay.
Unless we need to sign it, but we may not need to. I think we tried pointing it at the WASI Clippy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works. I don't think it needs to be signed. So we just need the manifest that's generated, right?
Yeah.
This thing right here.
I believe so.
Okay. Traits. Interesting. This is the same. This looks familiar. Let's try it. We'll just work through it. So we'll just name this deploy.yaml. Paste this in. It's an interesting version. Okay. And so this component is already on. Yeah, it's already found on your. It's on GitHub.
Yep, that's right.
So we don't need to do any of that. We basically just need to replace the image tag then. I think. With this.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
That's right.
Okay. I don't think we need really any of these annotations. Don't even need the version. Just delete that. And Rust WASI hello. It's a component. That's probably too small. Let me increase that. My work? My keyboard die?
Oh no.
No, that's fine.
Last published 4 days ago. Wait, did Aaron push something? No, it's good.
Aaron.
No, I love it when like work happens and I'm not involved. It's the best.
What's that called? Strategic leadership? I don't know.
Delegation, maybe.
Delegation. There we go. So is it still, what do we want to name it?
Oh, you've heard of passive income? How about passive code contributions, huh?
There we go.
I don't know.
Contributors,
Yeah, that's right.
maintainers, replica set 1. Component name is rustwazi. I don't know the difference between the component name and the name, the metadata name.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I wonder what if we wait, which line and which line? So it's line 14 up and
Yeah, here, let me get to this one. 3 up and 7, the current line. See,
okay,
there's a
because
metadata name, which is kind of the name for the entire application, and then there's the component name. So
if you go 11 down, right,
uh-huh.
there's a secondary one, which is HTTP server.
Yeah, so I think this is a separate, this is the hosting component, which is different from ours, and both need to be there because this ends up basically being the router for the component, which I would like to understand that a little bit deeper.
So I think the way to think about it, like I don't think it's quite true right now. It will be true in the near future, but think of like a pod, like think of it as like a pod and like microservices.
Okay.
Where it's our pod name is rustwazi hello, which is the overarching application. Within it, we have a binary called rustwazi hello, which is the actual application we want to run. But we have a sidecar like thing, which is the HTTP server that provides the HTTP capabilities. But they're not actual. It's not actual sidecar because it all links together, and so it's one actual binary. Or like dynamic linking. It's but conceptually.
So why is the WASM Cloud HTTP server necessary when we can run the Rust WASI hello and it's able to route? Like, what is it providing to the component?
I think it hosts it.
Okay. Oh, so it's hosting it. So then that server has a logic for the operator.
Kind of like PHP and Apache, where we have written the PHP code and that's our component. And then you need an Apache server underneath to like host it and run it. That's kind of what that second thing is. But
Okay.
not actually, because there's a runtime around it. But ish, like in that direction.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know how big this actually is, and we could probably inspect it if we had a look at the source.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we need to do to figure out. I remember reading something more about this in the docs. I'll go back to it in a second, but I think that's all we need to do to deploy it.
Okay.
So let's see here. We just apply. Okay. So anybody watching, I have an alias for kubectl. It's just K.
Yes.
So I'm lazy.
Which is very slick. Oh, I think I also have it now. I never use it, but when I was studying my my ZS.
Deploy YAML, invalid request, following capabilities, missing HTTP, missing a component. Do we need...
I do see HTTP component. You just changed the URL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Internal server error. Cannot deploy. Invalid request. Following capability components are missing from the manifest.
Yeah.
Oh, because I renamed things. So this is looking for the target, and the target is now not component. It is Rust WASI hello. We ran into that last time.
Oh, hey, good catch. Oh, how are you liking the history thing?
I'm liking it a lot. I have to figure out how to enable Vim.
Okay.
And it took me a while to figure out that enter will execute and tab will put it there.
Right.
But I like it. It's better than infinitely scrolling, all the way up. So I enjoy it. That's good.
Hell yeah.
So let's get application. Nope, I spelled application wrong. There we go. Reconciling, get service.
Okay.
Wasm Cloud host. Test the application. Okay, got that. See if the application's working. Deployed. Okay, very good, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Now we should be able to failed to shut down synchronous parameter not connected. Okay.
Try again. Okay. Still.
Incoming handler 010.
I don't know what that means.
Me either.
I know of WRPC, which means it's somewhere in Wasm Cloud.
Look for the logs. Okay.
Failed to shut down synchronous parameter channel. It has no idea.
Was it the WASM?
Wasm Cloud.
Logs. I think the logs failed.
Okay.
The WASM Cloud pod doesn't have any errors. What about the WADM?
Mm-hmm.
Create API subscriber. Environment not present. Rust log was not set or given directive, was invalid from environment error.
Oh, interesting.
Defaulting to logger info level. Okay.
Reconciling. There we go. It failed to boot.
Okay, logs. Is that? That should be how you do it. Okay, so it's not considered a deployment.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it said reconciling again.
Yeah, so it must be. I'm imagining it's maybe not able to pull the
Mm-hmm.
image or something. But I'm trying to figure out in the logs where it would be telling us that, because it just says reconciling.
Oh, maybe I need to make it like publicly available or something.
It says deployed though. I just
Yeah.
wonder how, like, logs. Check the WASM Cloud logs and more. So this.
Okay.
And this said that there's no resource found in the default namespace. We ran into that last time.
How do we resolve it?
I think we just found the pod, which is what I did before. So this is looking for something, because I deleted the annotations. That might be where the label's missing. Instance WASM Cloud cluster. I'd imagine it's this, right? Like that's what it's trying to get the logs from. And then we just get this, like there's nothing really in here. Maybe there's something in the Nats box. Nope. Kind of idea. Let's try to deploy example. Okay, deploy example. Okay, it created that. Bolts deployed.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
This will just tell if it's an issue with the cluster or the configuration manifest, but I would imagine it's probably the manifest, if I had to guess.
I wish reconciling would like tell us a little more.
Oh, already bound.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Rebinding that could do it. Can you curl again? Fuck.
Interesting.
Can we restart it? If you unbind it, restart it, try again. Because I would expect it to like not. Oh, I guess it's saying reconciling, right? Do we know what that means?
No. Okay, get applications. Yeah, so our application keeps reconciling, but I don't know what that means. The hello world went, so I was just going to try to forward it to a different port.
Okay.
And just see if that works.
Oh, I have it here. The reconciling state is the intermediate state where WADM calculated the desired state of deploying an application and issued commands to reach this desired state. This means that WADM sent requests to relevant hosts on the lattice to start components, providers, establish links, or establish configuration. Applications will always enter the reconciling state right after you deploy them, as WADM will issue all of the initial commands. So reconciling means, hey, it's deploying, and then there is also undeployed, deployed, and failed. So it's like it's working but not succeeding,
Right.
but also like not failing. So maybe it's like entered a bad loop or something.
Well, it looks like the hello example fails to run too.
Oy.
So it might be something on our cluster we configured wrong.
That's a local host.
Yeah. Let's see here.
we've deployed it at least twice, so this is like our third time, and for some reason,
Yeah. Could be something. I might have missed something in the setup too. It's possible.
mm-hmm.
Okay, what am I supposed to find in services? Well, it looks good. Yeah, just constantly doing a reconcile loop. Okay.
Shall we just walk through it from start? Oh, look, Hello World did deploy.
Yeah, it's there. I'm just wondering if because they use the same port, if maybe that's the conflict. So I was going to delete.
Probably, yeah. Wait, didn't we run into this before?
Probably. I guess we should read a.
I feel like we have. I feel like if we were able to watch back the streams, which we're not, we could see this happening.
Let's see example. Oh, what was my?
It's Hello Dash World
deploy. Okay.
Still there.
Yep. So let's see if we can't forward it again.
Yes. Empty reply. Don't think that's what we wanted, right?
No, it should have something. Oh, here's some error forwarding. Failed to execute port. Failed to connect localhost 80 inside namespace. Connection refused. IPv6 and address of localhost. No suitable address found.
Can you pop up the status again? KeyCat applications.
Status?
Yeah. If you the previous command, get applications.
Oh, okay. It's still deployed.
Still deployed, not failed.
So it's probably something with the way we did NATs or set up that on the cluster.
Mm. And this is why automation's nice, and that's why we're setting up automation.
Yeah, that's our goal, so we can avoid this.
By the way, we are just about coming up on time.
Okay.
I think we have like 2 more minutes. Figured I would show a little bit of Cat. This is naughty. She's sleeping in a box. She's very annoyed that I'm like waking her up. She's like, no, let me be. Wee.
So it doesn't like the port forwarding.
Can we tear it down and like start from the start again? Maybe that would be quickest.
Yeah, we could like tear down the whole cluster. Let's see. Quickest way to do that. Well, probably, yeah, I guess we could tear it down, rebuild the cluster, and then we could start back from there. Yeah, we'll do that. Easiest way to do that would be to AZ group. Is it delete? We'll just delete the resource group.
Nice.
AZ group delete dash resource group. And then I think it was run WASI hello. Yeah. Are you sure? Yep.
If this was a production system, like that seems so bad.
I did get to the point where for certain areas of our infrastructure, it's totally acceptable operation.
And then
But
you hope you don't mistype the group name or something.
yeah,
Seems terrifying to me.
I think the biggest issue we had with automation, it's always human error, but we didn't put an upper limit on the amount of memory that we could assign to new servers because
Okay.
we had templates,
Mhm.
but someone ended up putting a typo in and adding a couple extra zeros, and so that new build ended up taking all the memory from the VMware cluster, which
Mhm.
then bricked our SQL servers because it was a new SQL server that was being determined, so they became resource constrained.
I
Um, and so that was probably the only legitimate um, issue that we had with automation, and we fixed it. But that was fun trying to talk down the change control board. You know, they're like, "Oh no, this is terrible. Like we've got to stop all automation, and everybody's got to build this by hand, so we don't make any mistakes like this
Oh
in the future."
God.
And I was, do you know how many
That seems
mistakes that we've?
worse.
Oh, it's way worse because like the more that it's done by hand, the more chance you have for
Mhm.
failure like that. And I was like, this is going to be a simple change. We'll just say that this int value cannot exceed 32 without manual approval. So, but that
That's
was
so
fun
funny.
stuff. I enjoyed that job a lot. Aside from the change control board. My favorite one was I had to it took me 6 months to convince them that I could do Active Directory. What was it? Trust. Yeah.
Mhm.
A two-way trust. And they're like, well, what's going to break? I was like, well, there's a small chance that everything will break. Everything being authentication.
Right.
Um, and they're like, well, you got to mitigate that. I can't really mitigate that. Like it's either going to reconcile right away or everything is going to break for 5 minutes while the servers update. Um, Finally got them. I mean, it was a very, very, very low chance that would happen, but they're like, okay, 6 months later, like, okay, you can do this at 1 a.m. when our traffic's the lowest and, like monitor it for the next 3 hours. So I don't know. It's fun.
That seems rough. 1 in the morning till 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I
Do you watch Rick and Morty?
I do, but we also have to run.
Oh, that's true. That's true. 2 minutes. Okay, next. That's a story for next time. So what I'll
Yes.
do in the meantime for everybody watching, I'll rebuild the cluster. I think I just messed something up with probably the network configuration on it. So I'll
Yep.
walk through probably before tomorrow's stream and see if I can't get the sample app deployed, and then we'll modify it to do that, and then I'll document what I missed. But and then we'll tell the Rick and Morty story tomorrow.
Yes.
For those that are always interested in our
Tell
quest.
me about it.
All right. Well, we'll jump to our next meeting. Thanks, Josh.
Yes.
We'll see everybody else tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. And see you.